You are the master of the ancient battlefield. The leader of the extraterritorial realm struggled to utter these words, and then his entire body began to tremble instinctively, as if a wave of fear surged from the depths of his soul, uncontrollable. The ancient battlefield was shrouded in mystery. The leader of the extraterritorial realm had long dispatched the elite forces of the extraterritorial evil clan to search for it, but despite numerous efforts, they had found nothing. The ancient battlefield, according to legend, was the site where the divine seat had fallen. Once its exact location was discovered, stepping into it and acquiring even a fragment of divine bone or divine essence would make advancing to Do Shin incredibly easy. You're half right. In a strange state, Tian Yuanzi looked at the leader of the extraterritorial realm, then chuckled softly. A sinister smile gradually appeared on his face. I am you, and you are me. Next, please enjoy the final act. After Tian Yuanzi spoke, brilliant milk-white patterns began to emerge all over his body. These patterns were filled with milk-white flames, and an ancient fluctuation slowly emanated from his body. Then, those milk-white patterns exploded with a deafening roar before the stunned gaze of the leader of the extraterritorial realm. Boom! At that moment, the entire dim and shadowy Buddhist realm trembled violently, as if a scorching, divine, and malevolent sun had been unleashed, releasing a searing light. The intense energy fluctuations rippled throughout the Buddhist realm, and even the great thousand worlds could clearly feel the powerful radiance. Your aura, why does it share the same origin as ours? As the milk-white light fully bloomed, the leader of the extraterritorial realm's face changed drastically. His pupils contracted slightly as he stared in disbelief at Tian Yuanzi. Inside this person, there was a trace of origin energy identical to both himself and Tian Yuanzi, the feeling as though he was part of them. When the great calamity came, we were shattered into 3 parts by that person. By using divine techniques, I erased your memories. The first flame was never composed of just the 2 of you. It was the 3 of us. Tian Yuanzi, D Yuanzi, I am Ren Yuanzi, the one who controls everything in this world. He. A colossal lie that had spanned across the ages erupted from Ren Yuanzi's mouth. Immediately, all of Ren Yuanzi's power surged uncontrollably, and without hesitation, he directed it toward the extraterritorial evil clan. In the blink of an eye, the leader of the extraterritorial realm was paralyzed, unable to move. The energy Ren Yuanzi had unleashed made the heavens and earth shift in color. A pure milk-white halo shimmered faintly in the dark, evil Buddhist realm. It seemed as though an ancient, sacred spirit was slowly undergoing rebirth. With the fusion of the 3 fundamental energies of heaven, earth, and humanity, an indescribable wave of fear began to spread from the Buddhist realm, shaking the evil rift in the sky above the great thousand worlds, impacting countless living beings. However, what was strange was that the destructive force did not immediately spread across the great thousand worlds. Instead, it flowed through the evil rift, as if waiting for something. At that moment, countless beings within the great thousand worlds struggled to raise their heads, staring at the terrifying fluctuations from the evil rift. An unspoken fear and despair slowly crept into their hearts. Boom! In the back mountains of the boundless fire domain, Nan Nan's palm flickered with the 5 spirit pearls, which triggered earth-shaking energy. Golden clouds began to accumulate above them, and a golden ripple slowly spread out, as if constructing some ancient divine artifact. It'll take a little more time. At this moment, Nan Nan's spiritual power withdrew, and Yun Qi took control of her body once more. Looking up at the evil rift in the sky, she clenched her teeth. Under the towering ancient tree, Xiao slowly sat cross-legged, gazing at the evil rift in the sky. His mind gradually calmed, and he turned to nod at the 4 women beside him. Then, he closed his eyes and began to regulate all the power within him. As this situation unfolded, a pair of cold, sinister eyes faintly appeared within the evil rift, slowly locking onto the Saint King and others in the sky. Bang! 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 Meanwhile, in the vast sky, the Saint King's body began to shine brilliantly. Silver-white energy ripples rapidly expanded, reaching tens of thousands of meters in size. The ancient sacred runes of the second sacred flame transformed, vaguely forming a vast constellation that hovered around him, accentuating his divine majesty in a glorious light. This power is still not enough. From afar, Angel Queen Xun'er couldn't help but feel a trace of helplessness in her beautiful eyes. Then, the 12 wings behind her flapped, and with a wave of the angelic scepter and the angelic flame, she prepared to protect this world herself. If they retreated now, the entire great thousand worlds would be doomed. Have we failed? Feeling the Saint King's weakened state, Xiao and the others shook their heads helplessly. The gap between these three might seem simple, but in reality, the difference is like an insurmountable chasm. Billions of stars, divine authority. Behind Xun'er, a massive angelic figure, tens of thousands of feet tall, lurked, resembling a true guardian deity. The divine aura it released was so overwhelming that no one could face it directly. Primordial breath. At the same time, the Saint King's aura surged, and 2 attacks erupted forth. Boom! Xun'er raised her jade hand, resembling a divine being, launching her most powerful strike at the evil rift. Brilliant holy light illuminated the heavens, carrying a sacred aura as it thundered toward the rift. The Saint King's attacks followed suit, launching forward with tremendous force. 2 strikes soared above the skies, imbued with a strong sense of divine mission, racing toward the evil rift. In that moment, all life stopped breathing, their gazes fixed on the evil rift. Would these 2 attacks be enough to shake it? Whoosh! The 2 attacks landed one after the other, but to everyone's confusion, a faint sound was heard, and then the attacks slowly disappeared into the evil rift as though they had never existed. In an instant, Xun'er and the Saint King were both struck with overwhelming shock. 2 divine arts failed to even budge the evil rift? There's something strange inside. At this moment, a solemn expression began to emerge in Xun'er's clear eyes, her gaze constantly fixed on the dark eye of the evil rift, sensing something. What kind of presence? The Saint King asked. Senior, you should understand better than I. Xun'er shook her head. That is the scent of the first holy flame. When Xun'er asked, the Saint King helplessly shook his head. As he spoke these words, the entire atmosphere turned deathly silent, as though an indescribable fear had gripped their minds. The first holy flame? Upon hearing the Saint King's words, the many peak experts around them couldn't help but be filled with an unspeakable shock. According to legend, the first holy flame was an extraordinary divine object. If it were to appear, it would surely bring about a true storm of blood and carnage. By that time, no one in this world would be able to resist the supreme divine might of the one who wielded it, and the only fate awaiting them would be annihilation. Are you saying the fusion of the leader of the extraterritorial realm and the lord of the central human realm is what is known as the first holy flame? Though it was hard to believe, the Golden Dragon King couldn't help but ask, Tian Dunz. Their origins have always been a mystery, but the dangerous fluctuations I felt from the evil rift are unmistakably the power of the holy flame. They must be connected to the so-called first holy flame. The Saint King shook his head, and the other powerful experts exchanged looks, uncertain. At this point, the endless flame domain was teeming with people, and countless top-tier geniuses from the Great Thousand Worlds had gathered here, making it the last hope of the Great Thousand Worlds. Countless life forms looked up at the Saint King and the other peak experts, silently praying for their victorious return. Unfortunately, as the Saint King and the others launched their earth-shattering attacks, they silently disappeared into the evil rift. In the minds of the countless beings, an invisible terror and despair slowly took hold. If even these mighty beings at the peak couldn't resist it, how could they survive in the face of such an apocalypse? The once blue sky had grown unusually dim. A black fissure, like a gash in the heavens, was slowly widening, as if something from an unknown void was steadily approaching the Great Thousand Worlds. The overwhelming demonic aura hidden within it, once fully manifested, would surely plunge the Great Thousand Worlds into chaos and suffering. Is there no other way? The darkened sky was filled with ominous magic pillars crashing down. With each fall, the territories of the great thousand worlds lost more ground. Qing Yuan, still unwilling to give up, asked once more. The Angel clan was indeed powerful, but their strength was primarily in protection and divine power. When it came to combat ability, the Saint King and Xiao Tianming were undoubtedly stronger than her. The Saint King slowly shook his head. At this moment, even he seemed helpless. A sense of despair and sorrow gradually spread through the world, as though all life had vanished and the world had become a deathly wasteland. Boom! Just as the atmosphere of despair enveloped the heavens, the golden clouds high above suddenly surged and converged, forming a beam of golden energy that pierced the heavens, descending straight down. The evil magic pillars that tried to intercept it were instantly reduced to nothing. Gurgle! What is that? In the midst of the evil rift, dark magic pillars and faint milk-white flames continuously appeared. The latter seemed to slowly consume the world, but as golden energy manifested, these forces quickly melted away, as if ice meeting raging fire. This fluctuation. Impossible! In the Buddhist realm, Yuanzi, who was slowly progressing towards the three sources unification, felt his pupils violently shake. Even across the vast emptiness, he could sense a familiar fluctuation from the golden energy high above in the boundless fire domain. That energy, that fluctuation, he could never forget for his entire life. The key to opening the Paradise Lost, one of the 5 spirit pearls, is still in my possession. Why are they able to summon Paradise Lost? As he spoke, the Earth Spirit Pearl in Yuanzi's hand shimmered with a scorching glow, as if responding to a call. At that very moment, on the Buddhist realm's altar, 3 energy masses, milk-white, pitch-black, and golden, were slowly fusing in a mysterious arrangement. During the fusion process, the entire Buddhist realm's energy boiled, destroying the very heavens and earth, as if some ancient deity was about to be born. No, I cannot allow them to destroy my plan. Ryup. Yuanzi's thoughts stirred as he sensed the fusion would take time. He immediately released a wisp of milk-white flame essence, which exploded like fireworks in the dim void. With this action, the entire void became illusory and then caved in. Dark coffins, carved with complex patterns, slowly rose from the void. There were countless coffins, some of which emanated an indescribable fluctuation. That energy was at least at the semi-god level. Master! The lids of the coffins slowly opened, and powerful figures, as if reborn, stood solemnly in the void, their eyes filled with pure milk-white flames that gradually rose, enhancing their powers to the extreme. Through this rift, go to that world. Eradicate all heresy. We shall return to the primordial golden age. Understood. This brat, he really didn't disappoint. Moments ago, the Saint King had been despondent, looking as if disaster was imminent. But now, sensing the magnificent passage formed by the golden energy, he smiled and said, "Let's go." The others exchanged glances and swiftly headed towards Xiao Yan's back mountain, knowing that, with their strength, they could no longer contend with the gods beyond the evil rift. Yuan Tian, brother, this is the path to Paradise Lost. Nan spoke, then quietly withdrew her soul power into Yunqi's body. The prolonged communication had clearly drained a considerable amount of her soul strength. Pooh! Yunqi regained control of her body, but it immediately became unsteady, her internal energy raging like a storm, her blood and qi in turmoil. You! Xiao Yan shook his head. I'm fine, Yunqi gritted her teeth. All the mysteries will be revealed within Paradise Lost. Yunqi murmured softly, her gaze firm as she looked at the golden path ahead. The path was filled with intricate patterns, and it seemed that once one stepped onto it, there would be no turning back. Go! Seeing Xiao Yan's resolve, the 4 women smiled and nodded. Since the opening of Paradise Lost was not triggered by the complete 5 spirit pearls, this time, the fewer people who enter, the better. As the Saint King and others arrived one after another, Yunqi's face became serious. She could clearly sense Nan's soul inside her, filled with deep hatred and disgust towards the evil rift's aura in the celestial realm. Senior experts, I entrust this world to you. Even in the worst case, we will defend it with our lives. Go. As Xiao Yin held Yunqi's jade hand, they immediately stepped onto the golden path, heading toward the so-called Paradise Lost. The divine land of joy, Paradise Lost, was the last hope of the great thousand worlds. Boom! With a resounding explosion in the sky, the world-shaking power that Nan Nan had called forth using the 5 spirit pearls gradually detached from the golden clouds, transforming into countless majestic bolts of lightning. They carried a mesmerizing energy ripple, descending from the heavens like nectar. The mysterious and profound energy then gathered in midair, twisting the void as if calling and constructing a passageway to an unknown realm. This, perhaps, was Nan Nan's work. Within moments, the group looked up and saw an immense gateway, barely visible yet standing tall in the void. The overwhelming pressure emanating from it was suffocating, as if it had crossed countless years and survived innumerable calamities. The golden portal was covered with profound patterns that were difficult to gaze upon directly. It exuded a majestic, awe-inspiring presence, reminiscent of a divine portal left behind from ancient times, gleaming with an ethereal glow. As this ancient portal appeared, the once deadly silence of the great thousand worlds suddenly became fervent. Countless pairs of eyes, filled with heat and madness, watched intently, as if their senses could detect something enticing emanating from beyond the portal. That was the battle god. After a brief period of madness, they gradually calmed down. They knew that such a divine being was beyond their reach. However, the scene unfolding in the boundless fire domain undoubtedly gave the beings of the great thousand worlds a glimmer of hope. Thus, countless creatures began to gather towards the boundless fire domain. A fierce battle was imminent, one that would determine the fate of the great thousand worlds in the divine battle of heaven and earth. Go! The group, their expressions tinged with sorrow, remained suspended high above the towering ancient tree, watching as Xiao Yin and Yunqi stepped onto the golden path towards the entrance. It seemed as though some otherworldly force was gently guiding them towards some mysterious destination in the void. Move out! The moment the golden portal appeared, Xiao Yin activated his holy flame to shield both himself and Yunqi. The two of them moved at lightning speed, charging directly toward the portal. This was their final hope. If the evil entity within the rift obstructed them, the consequences would be unimaginable. So this is how the lost paradise from the legend is truly opened. The Holy King and the others' pupils slightly trembled as they watched Xiao Yin and Yunqi's movements. From the golden portal before them, they could see the faint shadow of an immense figure, filled with unsettling fluctuations that caused their hearts to race. But they knew full well that this kind of earth-shattering power was not something they, as mere demigods, could even hope to touch. If they were to foolishly step into it, they would only be walking to their own doom. Boom! Just as Xiao Yin and Yunqi's bodies were about to merge completely into the golden portal, a bone-chilling, resentful roar suddenly came from the evil rift in the sky. A group of ants. If it weren't for the fact that I am currently in a transformation period, this place where the battle god rests would never allow you mere mortals to touch it. Be destroyed by my hand. As the words were spoken, a milk-white fire chain, surpassing all laws of the heavens, shot down like a meteor from the sky, heading straight for Xiao Yin and Yunqi. The speed of the descending attack was extraordinary. In an instant, it was right before Xiao Yin and the others, carrying an overwhelming aura of annihilation that could not be described in words. Such a ruthless strike would be enough to injure even someone of Xiao Yan's quasi-divine level. This is bad. Seeing this almost impossible to defend destruction attack, the Holy King and the others were alarmed. They immediately gathered their remaining demigod strength, attempting to intercept the blow for Xiao Yin. But it was already too late. Go ahead. Xiao Yin took a step forward, blocking Yunqi, and then abruptly turned around, no longer gazing at the lost paradise entrance at the end of the golden path behind them. Crack! Seeing Xiao Yan's resolute figure, Yunqi's soul seemed to be deeply moved. She involuntarily took control of her own body, muttering some obscure incantations. Go! At this moment, Yunqi seemed to have unlocked some immense power. As her jade-like hand lifted, she struck the milk-white fire chain. Without a trace, the chain was easily reduced to countless milk-white particles, dispersing into the air as if it had never existed. However, after unleashing this strike to counter the attack, Yunqi's face instantly paled, as if she had paid a tremendous price. Whoosh whoosh. The sound barely finished, and the two figures flashed and vanished into the golden portal. The fire chain, which Yunqi had shattered with a single strike, showed signs of reigniting, and in the blink of an eye, it set the entire back mountains of the boundless fire domain ablaze. The massive mountain range was consumed by milk-white flames that swept through it mercilessly, as if death itself were ravaging everything that resided there. Meanwhile, the majestic portal, adorned with golden patterns, closed completely as Xiao and Yunqi stepped into it. It became part of the world, merging with the void. Yet, high above the boundless fire domain, a dense aura of divine might continue to envelop the area, making it clear that everything that had just occurred was no mere illusion. The fluctuations of this fire. It can only be the holy flame. At this moment, Mu Yingying's beautiful eyes filled with a puzzled expression, her gaze shifting towards the evil rift in the sky. Within it, there was an indescribable fear and a familiar feeling she couldn't quite place. Attack. Destroy these flames, or they will lead to endless trouble. This fluctuation. It's that little beast. Damn, I miscalculated. After the great battle, I thought I could return to the lost paradise to destroy everything, but I failed. I thought this guy perished along with Yuan Tian, but unexpectedly, once I fully merge, the world will be unified, the ancient times will return, and this world will be under my control. How can a mere-born Holy Spirit stand in my way? Within the evil rift, on the land of the Buddhist realm, atop the endless dark altar, 3 exceptionally radiant spheres of light flickered. They merged and spiraled around one another as pale white patterns, chilling to the bone, continuously poured out from the pitch-black void. Clearly, this was a critical moment, with no chance to retreat. In the midst of this dark expanse, countless eerie, ominous coffins stood silently, lined up one after another. Boom! As the ancient portal opened, a terrifying fluctuation, as if left behind from the primordial era, suddenly surged forth. The overwhelming momentum was like a tidal wave, so powerful that it immediately shattered the void of the boundless fire domain, leaving signs of impending collapse. That power was divine. A battle god. The golden portal is merely a passage into the lost paradise. It is at the end of this path where the lost paradise truly lies. After stepping into the golden portal, the two found themselves standing on an ethereal golden path. Yunqi's delicate face tightened as she spoke. No one knew the mysteries of the lost paradise or the divine power it contained, and no one was aware of the convoluted path one had to take to enter it. At this moment, the 4 spirit pearls required to open the lost paradise spun continuously on Yunqi's arm, radiating waves of energy that resonated with the golden path. They guided the 2 of them forward, protecting them from being erased by the golden path that emerged from the lost paradise. Without this energy protection, they would likely be annihilated. As they advanced, Yunqi's expression grew exceptionally pale, clearly having expended too much energy resisting the ruthless attack from Ren Yuanzi earlier. As time passed, Xiao suddenly felt bursts of ancient, overwhelming energy spilling out from the far end of the golden path. That very path was filled with an extraordinary, supreme force that sought to undermine Xiao very existence. That was divine essence. The golden path seemed to be a tangible substance, weaving through their limbs and bones, seeking the key to enter the lost paradise. At the end of the golden path, faint golden mist poured out, enveloping the surrounding void like a guardian. A hand reaching into the mist could feel a vibrant, comforting energy radiating from it. This space was eerily silent, as if it had been abandoned for countless eons. Yet this strangeness caused Xiao heart to tremble. Can you hold on? Xiao withdrew his gaze and activated his flame mantra energy to send pure power into Yunqi, trying to stabilize her injuries. I'm fine. It's just that the power of another soul within me clashed with mine. Don't worry about me. We don't have much time left. Yunqi gritted her teeth, looked at Xiao, then said no more as she took the lead, guiding Xiao along the golden path towards the entrance. Crossing the golden path into the entrance, a blinding flash of ancient light erupted. Then, a disorienting spatial shift occurred, and the sight before Xiao left him deeply moved. Beyond the golden path was a vast expanse of space, with an ancient land and a grand, magnificent, and eerie garden suspended in midair. This garden exuded an endless divine pressure, its vastness so great that it was impossible to take it all in at once. Yet, despite its grandeur, the garden was eerily desolate, as if it had been affected by some kind of destructive force. Even after countless ages, it still lacked any sign of life. Buzz. Buzz. The two of them stepped into the lost paradise, but even with Xiao strength, he couldn't stir significant spatial fluctuations. It was as if his power had been greatly restricted under the oppressive force of this place. As Xiao began walking across the mysterious land, his gaze swept over the barren terrain. But what drew the most attention was the floating garden. That garden seemed to be the lost paradise long rumored to exist in the Great Thousand Worlds. However, even with Xiao soul power, his face turned grim, as he could distinctly feel the lingering, terrifying power in the lost paradise. That dreadful power, even with Xiao current strength, could obliterate him with the slightest touch. What a terrifying pressure. This is the resting place of the battle god, the lost paradise, isn't it? At that moment, Xiao keenly realized that his soul power, which was capable of piercing through everything and spanning vast distances, could only probe a few hundred meters within the lost paradise. The faint pressure here undoubtedly suppressed much of his divine abilities. The moment the two of them stepped into Paradise Lost, Yunqi suddenly felt another soul, which had quietly resided deep within her, easily detach and emerge. It hovered in the air, exuding a fresh presence, with a rare excitement gleaming in its eyes. Nan, there's not much time left. Yunqi forced herself to stay composed, seemingly trying to break free from Nanan's actions. No. Nanan's soul gently shook its head, then slowly looped her arm through Xiao, a cheerful expression on her face. Yuan Tian brother, follow me. This is the sword-wiping garden. Yuan Tian brother would practice his sword here every day. This is Yuan Tian brother. Haven't you remembered yet? As time passed, Nanan's soul kept holding Xiao arm, guiding him around the land. Scenes of an ancient past constantly flashed through Xiao mind, yet no matter how much they wandered, they did not bring back any memory of Paradise Lost. Xiao shook his head, unable to recall anything about Paradise Lost or Nanan's questions. However, on this ancient land, the buildings and life had long since vanished. The earth was now filled with dust and ruins, resembling a desolate wasteland, leaving no trace of any memories. Girl, what is that? The three paused for a moment. Xiao gaze shifted towards the deep heart of Paradise Lost, his finger pointing in a direction, guided by some instinct, where a vast power emerged. As soon as he spoke, the smile on Nanan's face instantly disappeared, replaced by an indescribable sorrow, as though she sensed a terrifying fury coming from the direction Xiao had pointed. Looking up, Xiao saw the deep heart of Paradise Lost where the earth seemed to shatter, the space rupturing. A golden tombstone, seemingly endless, stood upright. Around it, the space was torn apart, and a terrifying pressure from the heavens and earth slowly emanated from the tombstone. Under that unspoken pressure, even a quasi-deity's extraordinary divine power seemed insignificant. There, a trace of shock began to appear in Yunqi's beautiful eyes. She quickly turned her gaze to Nanan and Xiao. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Xiao breathing grew rapid, and his eyelids twitched uncontrollably. The space around the golden tombstone resembled a black hole, devouring all living things. However, as he stared longer, the dormant flame mantra and flame god's cauldron inside Xiao began to heat up. Waves of emotions surged within him, a strange sensation, like a long-lost human finally returning to the place of their birth, exploding with boundless joy. There. As Xiao Yan's words fell, Yunqi moved, lifting her head to look at the strange expression on Xiao Yan's face. He was staring deeply at the far end of Paradise Lost, where a golden tombstone emitted a faint glow, its overwhelming divine might continuously radiating, drawing one's attention. Can we enter Paradise Lost? At that moment, Yunqi turned her head again, focusing on Nanan's soul, as if seeking her approval. With their dual souls, Yunqi naturally understood Nanan's familiarity with Paradise Lost. The mystery and danger of this place were immense, and without Nanan's guidance, even with Xiao Yan's current strength, entering would be like walking to his death. That is the core of Paradise Lost. It's also where we keep what we protect. At this moment, Nanan's voice seemed to carry a trace of resentment. The original conflict between Yuan Tian and Xian Di began because of the object within the golden tombstone. Had that object not sparked the dispute, this world would never have plunged into such chaos. The great thousand worlds are in peril. I need it. Faced with Nanan's sudden seriousness, Xiao Yan looked at her gravely and spoke each word carefully. But the thing inside, you will die. Hearing Xiao Yan's unwavering tone, Nanan's voice grew choked with emotion. That kind of power, humanity cannot control it. Nanan shook her head, a trace of sorrow appearing in her clear pupils. She seemed unwilling to lead Xiao Yan and the others inside. If you trust Yuan Tian, brother. In response to Nanan's question, Xiao Yan smiled slowly, as if already having made up his mind. Sigh. Seeing Xiao Yan's determination, Nan couldn't refute him. She then led the two of them onward, though their pace was slow. After about 100 breaths, they successfully entered the floating Paradise Lost. In the garden, trees of all shapes, vines, and plants filled the air with deadly threats. However, thanks to Nan's guidance and the protection of the 4 spirit pearls, the 3 of them easily navigated through the obstacles and headed deeper into the Lost Paradise. As they progressed, Xiao Yan noticed that the atmosphere of the Lost Paradise seemed to lack something crucial. When they reached a broad plaza, they saw a golden tombstone standing upright, radiating an ancient and powerful aura. Within a radius of nearly 100 meters around the golden tombstone, not a single plant could be found, only ancient patterns filled with the fluctuations of time. Boom! As they moved forward, golden ripples suddenly appeared on the ground beneath their feet. But just as the 3 of them arrived, guided by Nan, they seamlessly entered the world within the golden tombstone without any obstruction. What? As the 3 stepped into the most mysterious space within the golden tombstone, Xiao Yan's pupils dilated rapidly, a sense of shock spreading through his mind. The world before them was narrow and dim. In the void, 2 crystal coffins, shining with a faint glow, stood side by side. The coffins radiated an overwhelming, earth-shattering power. Beneath them was a bizarre dark green furnace, burning with endless dark green flames. Sensing it lightly, Xiao Yan could tell that these flames had no trace of heat, yet they slowly devoured and burned the surrounding void. Looking down, Xiao Yan noticed that this space had already been eroded by more than half. How could this be? At this moment, a look of disbelief appeared on Nan's face. It seemed that what they saw now was vastly different from the last time she had been here. This place is where I was born, the beginning of my memories. No, I can't watch it disappear. As she spoke, drops of cyan liquid fell from the corner of Nan's eyes, and her body suddenly lifted off the ground, rushing toward the world below with incredible speed. Such fluctuations? The moment Nan made a move, some power within Xiao Yan's body seemed to boil and surge. An indescribable sense of joy spread from deep within his soul. The source of Xiao Yan's strange reaction was likely the cyan tears from the corner of Nan's eyes. Have you gone mad? Yunqi gritted her teeth. Then with a leap, she followed her as if jumping into an abyss, her stern voice lingering around Nan. The 2 women were rapidly descending, seemingly on the verge of falling into the furnace of flames. Retreat. Boom. At this critical moment, Xiao Yan's body was engulfed in endless flame, twisting space to appear beside the two women, trying to pull them back. Whom. The brilliant holy flames surrounding Xiao shuddered as they made contact with the eerie furnace flames below. An icy sensation surged through his body, making him tremble violently. Get out! Sweat poured down Xiao forehead. His arms bulged with veins as he grunted coldly, detonating the holy flame energy around him. Using the powerful recoil, he instantly retreated to the entrance. Xiao, are you all right? As they returned to the entrance, Yunqi noticed that Xiao arm, which had just clashed with the furnace flames, was violently trembling. His face had turned ashen, as if he had just encountered a great disaster. The power below. It's somewhat similar to that figure behind the evil rift in the Great Thousand World. Xiao shook his head, sensing the complexity of the situation. That figure? Isn't that the fusion of the leader of the extraterritorial realm and the lord of the central human realm? What's going on? Yunqi was left confused by Xiao explanation. The figure behind the evil rift in the Great Thousand World is neither the leader of the extraterritorial realm nor the lord of the central human realm. Yuan Tian brother and Xian Di have lived through countless cycles in the Lost Paradise. This space is where the first holy flame and the first divine artifact were born. In the void, there are two soul coffins, and beneath them lies the divine forging platform. All of this should be the work of that mysterious figure. At this moment, as Nan spoke, Xiao suddenly understood everything. Xian Di controlled the first holy flame and tried to destroy Yuan Tian brother, intending to swallow the Lost Paradise and become the new master of this Zhangqiong. Unfortunately, he was defeated by Yuan Tian brother, and the first holy flame was shattered into 3 parts. The essences of Tian Yuanzi, Di Yuanzi, and Run Yuanzi fell into the Great Thousand World. Those 3 figures, through some twists of fate, one became the lord of the central human realm, spending his life trying to devour the extraterritorial. Another became the leader of the extraterritorial realm, creating hundreds of clans in opposition to his own. Both shared the same goal. As for the last Ren Yuanzi, at the moment of separation, he erased all memories of the Lost Paradise and the first holy flame from the minds of the other 2. Afterward, this figure acted mysteriously, possessing wisdom beyond many living beings. He knew how to seek fortune and avoid disaster, gradually consuming weaker creatures and growing stronger over countless years. He seemed to be plotting something. Now, Ren Yuanzi has absorbed and fused the powers of the other 2. In Nan's eyes, a sense of weariness, as if life had lost its meaning, gradually filled her gaze.